We're back into the campaign swing of things, and joining me on the phones right now, Justice Michael Massengale, who is running for Texas Supreme Court Place 3. And Justice Massengale, welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chad. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And it's, we're, I guess, just a little more than away from early voting out there, a little bit more than a month away from early voting. It's unbelievable that we're that close to it, aren't we?
It sure is. February 16 is the first day of early voting, and March 1 is the election, so 6 weeks away.
What type of things are you taking to the people to motivate them for this race? I know we've talked about it before. When you have a dominating presidential election, when you've got races that are up higher on the ballot, the race that you're in, it kind of gets swamped out there. But I'll give you credit. You've been out there, and I've seen you out there, and I know you've been shaking a lot of hands.
Well, Chad, I think that people understand that courts are playing a very important role in shaping not only our law but our culture. And there's nothing we can do on Election Day about the U.S. Supreme Court other than electing a Republican president who will start putting committed constitutional conservatives on the U.S. Supreme Court. But in Texas, we have more control. We've made the choice that the voters can have a say and have the opportunity to exercise some control over our judges. And we have the opportunity in this race to replace a person who has a record of judicial activism with me, Michael Massengale, a proven constitutional conservative.
What kind of examples can you give us as far as the activism of your opponent?
Well, I think people perceive the Texas Supreme Court as a conservative court. It is composed of 9 judges who run as Republicans. My opponent, she's just finished her first term. She had never been an appellate judge before she got to the court, so she didn't have a track record, sort of like the stealth candidates who have gotten to the U.S. Supreme Court. But now that she's been there, the fact is she is the most frequent dissenter against the conservatives on the court. And she's taken outlier positions that reflect philosophy of activism. And I think one of the best examples of that is tort reform. We all know that our conservative legislators have worked hard for over a decade to implement reasonable legal reforms in Texas that our conservative leadership widely credits tort reform legislation for the Texas economic miracle that sets us apart from the rest of the country. My opponent, in 2 different cases, is the only one of 9 judges who would have held tort reform statutes unconstitutional. And what that means is she's saying the legislature had no power to enact these laws that all of our conservative legislators all agreed upon, our conservative governors have signed into law, and enjoy wide consensus and have been highly successful. It really seems that her objection is not something that's truly grounded in the Constitution, because 8 of our conservative Texas Supreme Court judges have repeatedly confirmed that this is something the legislature can do. Instead, it just seems my opponent doesn't like tort reform and wants to use her position as a judge to get rid of it.
Visiting with Justice Michael Massengale, running for Texas Supreme Court Place 3. Go ahead, speak to the voters and tell them what they need to know about you and why they need to send you to the Supreme Court.
Well, qualifications are an important part of this race. I'm the only candidate in the race who's actually practiced law, the wide range of civil litigation that comes before the Supreme Court. Business disputes are a big part of the docket of that court, and I practiced at one of the largest firms in the state. I was a partner in the trial department of Baker Botts, which is an international law firm. I've handled cases myself that involved hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. I'm the only candidate in the race who's board certified in civil appellate law. And those qualifications really are important because our Texas business community is counting on the court to decide cases predictably and efficiently. It's a big part of the reason why we see so many businesses coming to Texas, because we have a strong pro-business legal climate, and an important part of that is knowing that you can trust the courts to follow the law. And I am the judge who has both the professional qualifications to understand business disputes and the judicial philosophy to never substitute my own ideas and to faithfully follow the law.
Judicial campaigns they're a little tough because you can't necessarily weigh in on what your opinion would be on certain cases that are out there. But let me ask you this, and I'll let you figure out how you can answer it. What do you think? What type of cases do you think would be making its way to the Texas Supreme Court within the next few years?
Well, I think religious liberty is an area, and I know I've been emphasizing business cases because that is a big part of the court.
Sure.
But we are seeing a lot of skirmishes in the area of religious liberty, and this is an area where I think we really do need judges who are willing to stand up for the original meaning of the Constitution. Our founders in this nation intended to create a nation where people could freely exercise religious belief, and there seems to be a culture of courts in this nation that thinks it's its role to root out any kind of a law that's founded on a religious belief, a shared moral understanding, and that has no legitimate basis in the Constitution. The Kim Davis scenario was one example, but I think especially both Obamacare, you see medical providers being forced to violate their conscience, and this new era of same-sex marriage and all of the things that come around it, the bakers, the wedding facilities, the caterers. We are going to see a constant series of skirmishes between elite cultural values coming against people who want to live their lives and hold on to their traditional values. And I think that the court is going to be called in repeatedly on this front.
Justice Michael Massengale, candidate, Texas Supreme Court, Place 3. Appreciate your time today. Tell folks where they can find out more information about you online.
Thanks, Chad. MichaelMassengale.com. I'm on Facebook, Justice Michael Massengale. And for your followers on Twitter, it's M. Massengale.
All right, excellent. Justice Massengale, appreciate your time today, and I'm sure we'll visit with you during early voting and before Election Day.
Sounds great, Chad. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. That's Justice Michael Massengale, Texas Supreme Court, Place 3, candidate for that position.